Good morning and thank you for joining us on Take 5. I'm Carla.
I'm Trista.
And I'm Millicent.
Today we're taking you on an adventure out on the water and into the bay.
And we take a trip across the RGB to Rio Grande City, where we get to visit a still occupied haunted hotel.
And a uniqueness to the 956 Conjunto music with a high school twist.
Let's get started. Lighthouses have stood along coastlines for centuries, and here at the Port Isabel Lighthouse, this historic beacon has stood since the 19th century. You can see the whole city from up here, including the Laguna Madre Bay, which is where our story takes us today.
Such a beautiful bay.
A beautiful day is all the Castillo family asked for today. Their story starts at the Laguna Madre Bay, where this family is ready to set sail despite the misty veil of fog that enveloped the bay this particular morning. The distant calls of seabirds echoed through the mist, inviting them out to the tranquil waters. Today is not like the others. It's special. You see, this is Joe Castillo's first time fishing with his daughter. Cecily has traveled over 1,000 miles to be here in this moment with her dad.
He's a rock in our family. He's an inspiration for all. They always said they wanted a better life for us than themselves, and so we've never known anything, we've never struggled, and it's because of their hard work.
For over 20 years, Joe has been a proud owner of a local seafood restaurant nearby. He's taken a back seat and observed from the sidelines as his employees reel in the very seafood he serves to his customers. But not today. Not when he's on the Ican, a boat especially designed for people like Joe.
Messed up my spinal cord, and I kept seeing doctors in Houston.
Yeah.
Lean back, Dad. There.
And came to a point where they told me I wouldn't be able to walk again. I took it real hard, and I told my wife to move on and put you in a nursing home. She said, no, we're never going to put you in a nursing home. It's hard.
After his diagnosis, going fishing with his daughter is something Joe never thought he would be able to do. That is until he found out about the Ican.
I'm happy. I'm very happy that I can do it and other people can do it too. I'm very happy for that.
You're turning lemons into lemonade, baby.
The Ican is a boat founded by Shane Wilson. Shane had this crazy idea to build a wheelchair-accessible boat so that everyone and anyone can enjoy fishing. But engineer Russell Davidson didn't think it was so crazy. Now, they're taking people like Joe fishing on the bay completely free and out of the kindness of their hearts.
We named the boat the I Can. And the motto of the boat is I can, I did, I will again. And we've raised the rails to 28 inches. We've opened the railing with the gaps that are accessible to wheelchairs and medical beds.
You ready, Joe?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why did you decide to do this?
It's the right thing to do. Why not? It's the right thing to do. I get emotional because it's so important that this population should have the same kind of experiences that the general population has, and they don't. They've been overlooked, they've been unforeseen. We're recognizing them. They have a voice.
Just as in his life, Joe's fishing trip took an unexpected turn when the weather suddenly turned unfavorable, cutting their excursion short. Nature's unpredictability reminded them of life's twists and turns.
We can control everything but the weather.
Because he is someone with paraplegia, Joe says he's used to feeling different, but not today. Today, Joe went fishing for the first time with his wife and his daughter. He held on for dear life as the waves crashed. Today, he laughed with glee when we got back to safety because he gets to live another day in a world where he can spend time with the people he loves. And at this moment, Joe isn't different. He's just like the rest of us, finding joy in the simple moments. Joe can, he did, and he will again.
When we go underneath the bridge, everybody yell, I can! I can! I can! I can! I can!
For Take 5, I'm Carla Salinas.
You may have heard of the folklore La Llorona or El Cucuy, but what about Laborde House? This real-life haunted house sits along the Mexican border and is right here in Rio Grande City. And today we're taking a tour inside the home with a troubled past. Let's go inside. In this building, there was a family who lived here over 130 years ago. This Victorian mansion is now a place for guests near and far to stay overnight. But before we checked in, I had to find out why this hotel is so haunted.
Well, there's always been that mystique of the paranormal as you go into Laborde House, or people talk about it. Now, I've heard tell of some people who have met their demise at Laborde House.
That's right, it is rumored that 4 people tragically died at Laborde House, but the most famous story is about the former owner. His name was Francois Laborde. He was a French merchant who built this home for his family in the late 1800s. He was found dead the same year he made his home into a hotel. Until this day, locals still don't know how he died.
I've heard 2 different versions. I know he killed himself, but I'm not sure if he shot himself or he hung himself. But the reasoning behind it was, the reason a lot of people did in that era was during the Great Depression, he had some financial issues. I imagine he was going bankrupt, and so he took his life.
And after learning more about the history, it was time to step inside the hotel for a tour. As you enter, a single room greets you to the right, while a staircase leads upward to 6 more. We met our tour guide Vicky on the first floor to give us a heads up on what to expect. What have people experienced here at Laborde House that we should know about?
Sometimes people that have stayed here, they have hear noises or seen things in around the hotel.
This home was actually designed in France and built by a San Antonio architect. So you'll see Spanish-inspired Saltillo tile and French grandiose features. We began our tour upstairs where things started to feel a bit heavy in the Audubon room. But I'm not gonna lie, it feels weird in here for me. Vicky, has anything happened in here?
Sometimes they say that they hear some noises, like when, if there's like a rope that is hanging. Right on that corner over there.
Okay, that's the rumor. Then it was on to the infamous Red Room, one of the most popular rooms due to its paranormal past.
People that have stayed here, some of them they say, "Whoa, Vicky, during the night the TV turned on by itself." Or that water faucet on the restroom is turned on by itself.
Vicky tells us people from all over the country come to Laborde House for a good stay and scare. We actually bumped into a few guests in the middle of our tour and found out how their night was going so far.
I haven't seen anything. I did hear something last night, but I wasn't sure if it was inside or outside. You know, it's a little bit spooky and it's an adventure, so.
We got to check out a few more rooms, and as an RGV native and a true scaredy cat, it was interesting how preserved and historic this building truly is. The feeling after you leave Laborde House is a bit eerie and, in my opinion, worth a visit. If you're up for an adventure, you gotta see it for yourself, if you dare. For Take 5, I'm Trista Castillo.
Since 2008, young musicians have come and gone through this room and left their mark. But here at Palmview High School, one thing remains true. The tradition continues on.
It starts with a verse, and like a pattern, it builds. Verse, chorus, bridge, chorus. For a small group of La Joya ISD students, this pattern is the key to euphoria. Palmview High School's La Tradición is an award-winning conjunto group that consists of 9 students.
Hello, my name is Rosa Vasquez.
Hi, my name is Silas Juan Mesa, Daniel Hernandez,
Samantha Sanchez,
Merari Uribe,
Fernanda Sanchez,
Rosbel Sanchez Jr.,
Giovanni Guerrero.
Here we go.
Led by director Javier Loya, the group has made a name for themselves by winning back-to-back state competitions and most recently winning studio time with legendary Tejano singer Bobby Pulido.
The Conjunto program started in Palmview High School back in 2008. It started because they wanted to keep the tradition going in the other schools too, and that's why I named the band La Tradición, to keep the tradition that was here in La Joya. I moved it to Palmview and kept it going.
Since its birth, conjunto music has evolved and become a staple in the Rio Grande Valley. Aiming to highlight the rise in popularity, La Tradición creates music videos and records covers each school year, with a different senior taking the role as lead singer. The videos themselves have consistently gone viral on social media, collecting over 200,000 views this year alone.
And matter of fact, some of my kids even say, "Sir, you know what? I come to school just for Conjunto, man. I love this class, you know. I dream about this class." So even when they're in elementary, they see our videos and they say, "You know what, Mom, Dad, when I'm in high school, I want to be part of that program."
But what makes La Tradición stand out goes beyond their numerous accolades and viral success. Appropriately named, a quick glance behind the scenes, and you'll see the true meaning of tradition.
When I was a baby, I used to have like a mini toy accordion that my parents would tell me I would always play with. And when I was older, when I was able to actually play, I remember asking my parents for an accordion for Christmas.
My dad is in a group too, like in a norteño band as well in Mexico, and so since he sings, I used to see him and I used to grab the mics and used to start singing.
My grandpa, he had a bajo quinto, and I didn't know how to play it, but I knew how to have a rhythm. My dad saw that I was really interested into music, and he bought me a bajo quinto.
I've always liked to sing when I was like young. I would sing Alicia Villarreal, like my mom.
I started playing when I was 8, so I have about 10 years playing. I first started with my uncle. He was a musician as well. He was in a group que se llamaba El Quinto Elemento.
Young adults looking to forge their own path ahead while carrying on the customs that came before them.
Because I want to keep it the tradition, you know, of having people from younger generations knowing how to play, and it's just what I want to pass on.
For Take 5, I'm Millicent Olivares.
After she passed away, I just missed having her pie there at Thanksgiving.
Fueled by her love for family and reading, this baker is leaving her mark on the Valley one pie at a time. A Valley woman's love for reading and baking ends with a great story and a very good tasting pie. She walks me through one of her creations from start to finish. Take a look.
Once upon a pie, there was an amazing woman who loved to read about fairy tales. But she fell into a dark hole during hard times in her life where she started to question everything. That's when she turned to her faith and found a passion for baking and pie. She started winning awards for her pies, and she found a true artist in herself through making these pies that the whole town seemed to love. And now she hopes to one day open a place she can call her own to share her pies with the world. Well, that woman is actually Kristen Garcia, and the story you just saw was completely animated by her through hours and hours of hard work in the kitchen.
I have to cut out the pieces of dough and paint them and then bake them. And then once they're baked and ready, I can put them on the pie and move them piece by piece until I take pictures each way. And so then I put the photos all together and it turns into the animation.
And how long did it take you to make this animation?
This animation took me about 4 days. Yeah, from beginning to end, so with the pie and everything.
Okay, to really appreciate this pie, we're gonna have to hit the rewind button so we can really take a closer look at this pie animation.
Starts out with a girl walking along a path, but she's reading a book, which is supposed to be me, and I call this Kristen in Wonderland.
Did you notice the tree and the citrus fruits made out of tiny pieces of pie? Well, that's because Kristen lived in an orchard her whole life, and citrus really means a lot to her family. Alright, so you know what happens, Kristen falls in that hole, but did you notice those tiny teardrops baked and hand-painted one by one?
And she reaches for a book, which is the Bible, and she opens it and it becomes like her umbrella that stops her fall. And that's for the Lord that just stopped my descent. And then he gave me the idea of just making pies.
Pay attention to that paintbrush on the left. It's dipped into the blue paint and then moved to the pie within the pie to make that line. That tiny detail in itself took Kristen hours of hard work. And then of course, the grand reveal of her hope of a storefront. Check out the citrus tree. Pretty cool, right? Kristen has been animating pies for about 2 years, but she's been baking pies for a whole lot longer than that. But like a good fairy tale, it all started on one cloudy day with one magical pie.
One pie, which was my grandmother's apple pie. And after she passed away, I just missed having her pie there at Thanksgiving. And so I wanted to learn how to make pies. And thankfully, my uncle had written the recipe down and he handed it to me. And so I was able to learn how to make her apple pie from that. And I'm like, okay, if I'm gonna make pies for people or for Instagram, I need to make my own dough.
These pies look amazing and they even taste amazing. So our story today ends, but Kristen's story is only just beginning. And you can follow along with her on social media as she paints the town apple red, one pie at a time.
Most pieces of stained glass have a story to tell, and a workshop in Pharr does just that. We share their story one glass a piece at a time coming up next. Stained glass windows adorn hundreds of churches and other buildings across the valley, but finding an artist can be very difficult. Take 5's Trista Castillo found possibly one of the only ones in South Texas.
Take 5ers, as you can see today, we're in a stained glass workshop, and we got to meet the man that restores and creates all of these beautiful stained glass windows. Let's go ahead and take a look. You may have seen stained glass windows at your local church or in homes of quirky neighbors, but the history of stained glass goes all the way back to the Gothic era, aka the 12th century. And with over 1,000 years in existence, only a few people still create stained glass windows. Meet Juan Carlos Castillo. He is one of the few Latino stained glass artists here in the state. We spoke with his wife, Jennifer Castillo, who tells us Juan Carlos learned his craft in his hometown of Guadalajara, Mexico, when he was just 12 years old.
So Juan Carlos has been in the stained glass artistry more than 30 years. He was exposed to a lot of this type of artistry and architecture. Anything and everything that is stained glass related, we do. Restore, create, anything that you can think of, that's what we do here at our shop.
This workshop in Pharr is called La Casa del Vitral. Jennifer tells us they work closely with churches across the RGV and in Mexico, and will take on clients who want their stained glass restored or created from scratch.
Everything's by hand, from the design to painting some of the pieces that have human figure to putting it together and then installing the window or the piece.
We got to see Juan Carlos and his team in action, where he's currently working on a mosaic piece only using recycled stained glass from older windows. He says the project will take him about 8 months to finish, but it'll be worth the wait.
The limit does not exist, of course. Anything, measurements you want to bring in, we can make it happen. Of course, there's a lot more complexity when it's a bigger, larger project. However, it can be done. So there's no can do when it's about stained glass.
Every piece that is created will get sketched, stenciled, cut, and painted by hand, and put together to create a timeless piece. They also restore older stained glass windows that are actually on display at the Gelman Museum in San Juan. Jennifer says her husband works long hours to get his pieces ready for his clients.
Seeing the final product and seeing the face he has when seeing the final product just brings me so much joy, and I just feel like, oh my gosh, really, like, this is happening. Like, he made something so beautiful out of an idea.
Now, after watching this process, I can appreciate this art form so much more. Did you know the number of steps it took to make these beautiful pieces? Well, now you know someone is creating these windows right here in our home. For Take 5, I'm Trista Castillo.
We thank you for making us part of your Saturday morning. We'll be back tomorrow with more fun.